My sister, Mia Hayes, and I were adopted by the Whitmans on the same day. The arrangement was simple. One of us would stay in the city to keep the young heir, Caleb Whitman, company, while the other would be sent to a quiet suburban villa to accompany the patriarch, Sam Whitman. In my previous life, Mia barely hesitated before choosing Caleb. He was handsome, charming on the surface, and a sadist underneath. Within a few years, he had broken her spirit and left her confined to a wheelchair. I stayed with Sam. With his support, I went to Germany for school, then returned to Hollywood and became the youngest actress to win all 3 major film awards. My career was dazzling, my life enviable. To outsiders, Mia and I had taken 2 entirely different paths. But Mia's envy ran deep. On the night I received my 3rd award, she set fire to my home. I burned to death in my own bed, and her limited mobility kept her from escaping the flames herself. We both died in the fire. Now we were reborn, back at the moment of our adoption. This time, Mia's eyes were bright with calculation. Standing before Sam, she burst into tears, clutching at his arm. "Sir, please let me stay by your side. You remind me so much of my grandfather. I'll respect you, as if you were my own family." I knew then. She remembered everything too. In our past life, Sam had given us the same choice: live with him or live with Caleb. Mia had chosen Caleb without a second thought, leaving me to Sam's care. But now, she was after the life I once had. Sam nodded slowly, a sharp glint in his eyes. "Since you're so filial, you'll live with me from now on." Mia bowed gratefully and slipped her arm into his. She couldn't resist turning to Caleb with a coy smile. "Caleb, take care of Ruby for me." Her gaze flicked to me, smug, triumphant, before she disappeared upstairs with Sam. Sam then gestured casually toward me. "You'll live with Caleb from now on. Caleb, take good care of Ruby." Caleb, only 15 but already tall and broad-shouldered, fixed me with a cold, unreadable stare. "What are you doing?" His voice was low, almost threatening. I forced a sweet smile, stepping toward him. "Hello, Caleb. I'm Ruby Hayes. I'll be your family from now on." He studied me for a moment, something flickering in his eyes. "You want to be my family?" I didn't, but there was no choice. "Yes." "Do you not like me?" I asked, tilting my head. "I like you," he said with a faint smile. "Of course I like you." I reached for his arm, only for him to shove me away. "Get lost. Don't touch me without permission." From the second-floor railing, Mia was watching, her expression almost gleeful. I picked myself up and grabbed Caleb's arm again, stubbornly holding on. "No. I'm staying with you." In my past life, I had never lived with him, but I knew his story. His parents' marriage had been loveless, filled with constant fights. One night, in front of him, his mother stabbed his father to death, then took her own life. Caleb was 5 years old, sitting at the table with a plate of untouched spaghetti, watching the scene in silence. Sam raised him after that, but his upbringing was cold. At 15, Caleb was already strange, volatile, and unpredictable. Still, I decided to try winning him over with warmth. If that failed, I'd find another way. He kept walking, his long strides forcing me to run to keep up. "Caleb, slow down." "I can't keep up, carry me?" He shot me an irritated glance. "Shut up. Keep whining and I'll feed you to the sharks." I immediately burst into tears. "Caleb's being mean. I don't want to feed the sharks." I buried my face in Caleb's chest, smearing tears and snot onto his shirt. Part of me was testing his patience. If all he did was scold me, then I'd know I could push him a little without real danger. "Shut up," he snapped, pointing a finger at me. "Cry one more time, and I'll feed you to the sharks." I clamped my mouth shut instantly, sniffling while staring at him with wide, wet eyes. Caleb gritted his teeth and shut his eyes, clearly unused to anyone being this stubborn. He looked tired already. Maybe I'd gone too far. Suddenly, he bent down. I flinched, covering my bottom. "Don't spank me." His expression shifted. Something complicated flickered there, and instead of hitting me, he scooped me up and strode forward. Relief washed over me, and I decided to push my luck just a little more. I wrapped my arms around his neck. "You're not mad anymore? You won't throw me to the sharks? I promise I'll be good from now on. Don't abandon me, okay? My sister doesn't want me. You're all I have left." He inhaled deeply, glaring at me with disgust, but my pitiful tone must have chipped at his resolve. "I won't get rid of you for now, but if you don't behave, I'll still throw you to the sharks." I grinned and rubbed my cheek against his shoulder. I knew you couldn't bear to get rid of me. You're so nice. Can you please shut up? He muttered. Okay. I really wish you were mute, he added under his breath. We reached his place, and he showed me to a room before disappearing. He didn't like company. Not even servants stayed overnight, and apparently leaving an 8-year-old alone didn't bother him in the slightest. Not that I was really a helpless child. After bathing, I stepped out wrapped in a towel, only to realize there were no clothes, children's or otherwise, anywhere. Caleb clearly wasn't the type to prepare for anyone's needs but his own. I was about to go looking when his deep voice cut through the air behind me. What are you doing? I turned slowly. I finished my bath, but I don't have anything to wear. His frown deepened. You're such a hassle. I sat down with my back to him, voice soft and wounded. Are you annoyed with me again? What did I do wrong? Footsteps crossed the carpet, measured but heavy, and then a t-shirt landed in my lap. Put that on. Go to your room. Sleep. Don't come out again tonight. I pulled on the shirt, gave him a small wave. Good night, Caleb. He didn't answer. Once in my room, I locked the door, exhaling in relief. Day 1 survived. But I kept my guard up even as I lay down, sleep coming only in shallow, restless bursts. In my last life, I had rarely slept peacefully either, not even in Germany, always fearing Sam might appear without warning. The Fire Mia set had almost been a release. Now I had the chance to rewrite everything. I had to save myself. Morning came. Still barefoot and wearing Caleb's shirt, I padded downstairs. A maid bustled in the kitchen and smiled warmly at me. You must be Ruby. Yes, I said. Where's Caleb? He left early. Asked me to make you breakfast. The table was set lavishly, but after a few bites, I set my fork down. I wanted to speak to Caleb about school, but he didn't return until past 11 that night. Hearing movement outside my room, I stepped out, just as he disappeared into his own. The sound of running water drifted from his bathroom. Without thinking, I climbed onto his bed to wait. When he came out of the shower and saw me, his face darkened instantly. Who told you to sleep here? Get down. I curled up tighter under the blanket. I'm scared. I want to sleep with you. He looked ready to explode, but before he could, I let my eyes fill with tears. The helplessness and frustration in his gaze told me I'd hit a nerve. He muttered a curse, and I tilted my head. What did you say? Shut up. He yanked the blanket back and picked me up, silencing me with a finger before I could protest. Placing me back on the bed, he said, Tomorrow, you're going to school. Like a good girl. It felt almost too easy. The next morning dawned crisp and unforgiving, the kind of light that pierced through the curtains like an accusation. I woke up in Caleb's bed, the sheets tangled around me from a night of fitful dreams. He was already gone, of course, his side of the bed cold and untouched, as if he'd never slept at all. I wondered if he had watched me for a moment before leaving, or if he'd simply stormed out, regretting his momentary softness. Downstairs, the maid, Mrs. Ellis, as she introduced herself, had laid out a simple breakfast and a school uniform that looked brand new, tags still attached. It was a private academy uniform, crisp white blouse and plaid skirt, the kind worn by children of the elite. I dressed quickly, my mind racing. In my previous life, Sam had sent me to a prestigious boarding school in Germany after a year or two, but here, with Caleb, things were different. School meant exposure, routine, and perhaps a chance to build something beyond survival. Caleb appeared just as I was finishing my toast, his hair still damp from a shower, dressed in a sharp blazer that made him look older than 15. He didn't greet me, just grabbed his keys and jerked his head toward the door. Let's go. The drive was silent, the city blurring past us in a haze of skyscrapers and morning traffic. I stole glances at him, noting the tight set of his jaw, the way his fingers gripped the wheel like he was strangling it. Thank you for letting me sleep in your bed, I said softly, testing the waters. He grunted. Don't make it a habit. At the school gates, he pulled over abruptly. Get out. I'll pick you up at 3. I hesitated, clutching my backpack. Caleb, will you be okay today? His eyes narrowed, a flash of something vulnerable crossing his face before it hardened. What kind of question is that? Go. I nodded and slipped out, waving as he sped away. The academy was imposing, all ivy-covered walls and manicured lawns. As an 8-year-old in body but with the mind of an adult, navigating classes was a bizarre mix of boredom and opportunity. Math and reading were child's play, literally, but I feigned wide-eyed curiosity, charming the teachers with polite questions and eager participation. During recess, I sat alone under a tree, watching the other kids play. That's when I overheard whispers about the Whitmans. Caleb's new sister? Poor girl. He's a freak. The words stung, but they confirmed what I knew. Caleb's reputation preceded him. Volatile, isolated, heir to a fortune built on shadows. By afternoon, I'd made a few tentative friends, innocent children drawn to my sweet demeanor. But my thoughts were on Mia. What was she doing now, cozying up to Sam? In our past life, she'd wasted her chance with Caleb, but now she was gunning for the path to stardom. I couldn't let her succeed without a fight. Caleb was late picking me up, arriving at 3:30 with a scowl. Get in. I climbed in, beaming. School was fun. I learned about fractions. He rolled his eyes. Spare me. That night, he avoided me, locking himself in his study. But I knocked anyway, holding a drawing I'd made in art class, a crude sketch of a shark with a big red X over it. For you, I said when he opened the door. So you remember not to feed me to them. He stared at it, then at me, and for the first time, a ghost of a smile tugged at his lips. You're impossible. Progress, I thought as I retreated to my room. Small but real. Weeks blurred into a routine. Caleb dropped me off at school each morning, his silences growing less hostile. I'd chatter about my day on the way home, sharing silly stories to chip away at his walls. He never responded much, but he listened. His glances in the rearview mirror told me that. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, I found him in the living room, staring at an old photo album. Curiosity pulled me closer. The pictures showed a younger Caleb with his parents, smiling before the tragedy. That's your mom, I whispered, pointing. She was beautiful. He slammed the album shut, his face thunderous. What are you doing here? Go to bed. But I didn't move. I miss my parents too. They died in a car crash. It hurts, doesn't it? Like a hole that never fills. His eyes met mine, raw and unguarded. For a second, I saw the 5-year-old boy in the spaghetti-stained shirt. You don't know anything. I know enough, I said gently. You don't have to be alone. He turned away, but he didn't tell me to leave. We sat in silence as the storm raged outside, a fragile bridge forming between us. Meanwhile, I kept tabs on Mia through subtle means. Sam visited occasionally, and once she tagged along. She looked polished, her hair in neat braids, clinging to Sam's arm like a devoted granddaughter. Ruby, how are you settling in? She asked, her voice dripping with false concern. Fine, I replied, smiling sweetly. Caleb's taking good care of me. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she hid it well. Later, I overheard her whispering to Sam about opportunities in acting classes. So, she was starting early, leveraging Sam's connections. In my past life, those had been mine, leading to auditions, training, and eventual glory. Jealousy flickered in me, but I tamped it down. Revenge wasn't about rage. It was about patience. I'd let her think she was winning while I built my own foundation. That night, Caleb surprised me by knocking on my door. Here, he said, tossing a bag onto the bed. Inside were clothes, dresses, pajamas, even a stuffed bear. Stop wearing my shirts. I hugged the bear. Thank you. You're the best brother ever. He scoffed, but his cheeks flushed. Don't get used to it. As months passed, Caleb's volatility surfaced in waves. One day, after a bad argument with Sam over business matters, he came home slamming doors. I hid in my room, heart pounding, remembering tales of his rages from my past life. But when he found me cowering, his anger deflated. I'm not going to hurt you, he muttered, sitting on the floor. Just stay out of my way when I'm like this. I nodded, then crawled over to sit beside him. Want to talk about it? He didn't at first, but slowly, words spilled out. His resentment towards Sam, the pressure of being the heir, the nightmares of that bloody night. I listened, offering no judgment, just presence. In return, he began opening up more, teaching me chess, even letting me win sometimes. School became my escape and arsenal. I excelled, skipping a grade, drawing praise from teachers. One suggested drama club, and I jumped at it, my first step toward reclaiming my acting dreams. Rehearsals were a joy, channeling emotions I'd buried deep. Mia, I learned through grapevine whispers, was thriving under Sam. She'd enrolled in elite acting workshops, her filial piety earning her favors. But cracks showed. Sam was strict, demanding perfection, and Mia's impatience clashed with his methods. During a family dinner, the first since adoption, Mia flaunted her progress. "Grandpa Sam says I have natural talent," she boasted, shooting me a smug look. Caleb, beside me, tensed. "Ruby's in drama club. She's good too." Mia's smile faltered. "Oh, that's cute." Under the table, I squeezed Caleb's hand. He didn't pull away. That night, as we drove home, he said quietly, "Don't let her get to you." "I won't," I promised. For the first time, I felt protected. The first sabotage came subtly. At school, rumors spread. I was weird, adopted for pity, Caleb's burden. Kids avoided me, and I traced it back to a new girl whose family knew the Whitmans, Mia's doing, no doubt. I confronted it head-on, performing a monologue in class that left everyone applauding. The rumors died, replaced by admiration. But it stung, reminding me of Mia's envy. Caleb noticed my mood. "What's wrong?" I told him, tears genuine this time. He listened, then drove me to an ice cream shop. "Forget them. You're better than that." His awkward comfort warmed me. That evening, he surprised me with tickets to a theater show, my first real exposure since Rebirth. As we watched, his hand brushed mine and I realized I was changing him, softening his edges. Mia escalated. She accidentally mentioned to Sam that I was struggling with Caleb, suggesting a switch. Sam dismissed it, but the seed was planted. I countered by inviting Sam over, showcasing my bond with Caleb. We played board games, laughed, a facade, but effective. Sam left impressed. "You're good for him, Ruby." Mia's glare from across the room was priceless. The auditorium lights dimmed, and the hush of anticipation settled over the crowd. At 10 years old in this reborn life, I stood backstage at the local theater, my heart pounding with a mix of nerves and exhilaration. The play was a small production, a children's adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream, but for me, it was a battlefield. My role as Puck was minor but pivotal, and every line I delivered was a step toward reclaiming the destiny Mia had stolen in our past life. I adjusted my costume, a whimsical green tunic with fake vines, and peeked through the curtain. The audience was modest, but I spotted Caleb in the front row, his arms crossed, face unreadable. He'd come to every rehearsal, sitting silently, but his presence was a lifeline. The curtain rose, and I threw myself into the performance. My Puck was mischievous yet soulful, drawing laughter and gasps from the crowd. I channeled every ounce of my past life experience, blending it with the innocence of my current age. When I delivered my final monologue, the applause was thunderous. Backstage, my drama teacher, Ms. Larson, pulled me aside, her eyes shining. "Ruby, you're a natural." I've never seen a child command the stage like that. The local paper ran a glowing review the next day, calling me a prodigy with a spark that could light up Hollywood. Caleb clipped the article and left it on the kitchen table without comment, but I caught him rereading it later, a faint smile tugging at his lips. That night, he drove me to a diner to celebrate, ordering milkshakes despite his usual disdain for frivolous outings. "Not bad," he said, stirring his straw. "You're okay at this." "Okay," I teased, grinning. "You cried during my monologue." He scoffed, cheeks reddening. "Allergies. Don't push it." But the victory was bittersweet. Word of my performance reached Sam, and with him, Mia. At the next family dinner, hosted at Sam's sprawling villa, Mia arrived in a dress that screamed calculated elegance, white lace, too mature for her 12 years. She clung to Sam's arm, her smile syrupy as she recounted her own progress. "Grandpa Sam enrolled me in the best acting workshop in the city," she said, her eyes flicking to me. "They say I have a natural charisma. I just landed a commercial for a national brand." The table murmured approval, but I caught Sam's sharp gaze on her, assessing. He was a man who valued results, not promises. I smiled sweetly. "That's amazing, Mia. I'm so happy for you." Her lips twitched, sensing the lie. "And you, Ruby? Still playing dress-up in school plays?" Caleb's fork clinked against his plate. "She's got a bigger role than your commercial. And she earned it herself." The air tensed. Mia's smile faltered, but she recovered, laughing lightly. "Oh, Caleb, you're so protective. It's cute." Under the table, I squeezed his hand. He didn't pull away, his fingers tightening briefly in return. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a vow. Emboldened, I approached Caleb later that week. "I want acting lessons. Real ones, like Mia's." I braced for rejection, but he just studied me, his dark eyes unreadable. Fine, he said finally, but you better not waste my money. He hired Ms. Elena Voss, a retired actress who'd trained Oscar winners. Her lessons were grueling, voice exercises, emotional recall, scene study, but I thrived. Elena saw my past life knowledge and honed it, teaching me to blend raw talent with discipline. Within months, I was ready. I auditioned secretly for a child role in a low-budget indie film, The Lantern's Glow, about a girl navigating grief. The director, a wiry man named Leo, called me back within hours. "You're it, Ruby. You are Lily." Filming was a whirlwind. I balanced school, rehearsals, and shoots, often collapsing into bed exhausted but alive. Caleb drove me to set when he could, lingering on the sidelines, his presence a quiet anchor. The day we wrapped, Leo pulled me aside. "Kid, you're going places. I've sent your dailies to a few agents." The film's premiere was small, held at a local arts center, but the applause felt like a tidal wave. Caleb stood at the back, clapping longer than anyone. Afterward, he handed me a single rose, muttering, "Don't let it go to your head." Mia's commercial aired a week later, a toothpaste ad, all bright smiles and cheesy jingles. She bragged about it at school, but the buzz was short-lived. Critics called her stiff, and Sam's frown at the next family gathering said it all. I, meanwhile, was fielding calls from agents, my name whispered in industry circles. Mia's smugness began to crack, her glances at me laced with venom. I kept my head down, but inside, I was building a fortress. Every role, every lesson, was a brick in my path to surpassing her, not through sabotage, but through undeniable talent. The summer I turned 11, Sam's villa became a battleground. Mia had convinced him to host a family weekend, a chance to bond, as she put it, but I knew her game. She wanted to parade her progress, to remind me of the life she thought she'd stolen. The villa was a maze of marble and glass, its gardens sprawling under the California sun. I arrived with Caleb, who was now 16 and taller, his shoulders broader, his silences heavier. He carried my bag without a word, but his eyes scanned the grounds like he was entering enemy territory. Mia greeted us at the door, her smile radiant but brittle. "Ruby, you look so grown." Her tone dripped with condescension, as if my growth was an inconvenience. "Thanks, Mia," I said, matching her sweetness. "You look like you're thriving." She led us to the garden, where Sam sat under a pergola, sipping iced tea. He greeted me warmly, but his eyes lingered on Caleb, searching for cracks in his guarded demeanor. Mia, ever the performer, launched into a story about her latest acting coach, a genius who'd worked with A-listers. "He's preparing me for a TV pilot audition," she said, twirling a braid. "It's a big deal." Sam nodded, but his expression was unreadable. "And you, Ruby? How's school?" I seized the chance. "School's great, but the film's been the real adventure. The director says I have a shot at festivals." Sam's eyebrows rose. "Festivals? That's ambitious." Mia's laugh was sharp. "Oh, Ruby, always dreaming big." Caleb's voice cut through, low and firm. "She's not dreaming. She's doing it." The conversation shifted, but the tension lingered. Later, as the adults discussed business, Mia pulled me aside near the rose bushes. Her smile vanished. "You think you're clever, don't you? Stealing my life." I tilted my head, feigning confusion. "Your life? You chose Sam. You wanted this." Her eyes blazed, her voice a hiss. "I chose wrong last time. I won't again. That spotlight is mine." "You mean the one you burned me alive for?" I said softly, my gaze steady. She froze, her face paling. You remember everything." "So do you," I replied. "And you still think you can win by cheating?" Her hands clenched, but before she could respond, Caleb appeared, his shadow falling over us. "Everything okay?" Mia's composure snapped back like a mask. "Just catching up with my sister." He didn't buy it, his eyes narrowing. "Ruby, let's go." As we walked away, I felt her stare boring into my back. That night, I couldn't sleep, the memory of her fire haunting me. I slipped out to the villa's library, curling up with a book to calm my nerves. Footsteps startled me, and I looked up to see Caleb, his hair mussed, a glass of water in hand. "Can't sleep?" he asked, sitting across from me. I shook my head. "Mia's intense." He studied me, his expression softening. "She gets to you, doesn't she?" I nodded, tears welling up. Real ones this time. She hates me, Caleb, for things I haven't even done yet. He moved to sit beside me, his arm brushing mine. She doesn't get to decide who you are. Your family, Ruby.
I don't hate you.
The words cracked something open in me. I leaned against him, crying softly, and he didn't pull away. Instead, he rested a hand on my shoulder, awkward but steady. Get some sleep, he said finally. We'll deal with her tomorrow. The next day, Mia doubled down, flaunting a new necklace Sam had given her, a reward for her workshop performance. But I noticed Sam's patience thinning. Her demands for attention were wearing on him. During a game of croquet, she accidentally knocked my ball into a hedge, smirking as I retrieved it. Caleb, watching, stepped in and hit her ball into the pond. Oops, he said, deadpan. Mia fumed, but Sam laughed, a rare sound. Good aim, boy. That evening, as we drove home, I thanked Caleb. He shrugged. She's a brat. Someone's got to keep her in check. For the first time, I felt like I had an ally in this war. By 12, I was balancing school, acting, and Caleb's unpredictable moods. He'd grown into a young man of contradictions, fierce one moment, tender the next. His rages still came, triggered by Sam's pressure or old wounds, but he'd started confiding in me. One night, after a particularly brutal argument with Sam over the family business, he came home slamming doors, his eyes wild. I hid in my room, heart racing, remembering whispers of his cruelty from my past life. But when he found me, curled up on my bed, his anger dissolved. I'm not going to hurt you, he said, voice rough. I just need space. I nodded, then took a risk. Want to talk about it? He sank to the floor, back against the wall. Sam thinks I'm useless. Says I'm not ready to take over. He's wrong, but I sat beside him, close but not touching. You're not useless. You're just carrying a lot. He looked at me, his guard dropping. Words spilled out, his fear of becoming his parents, the nightmares of blood and spaghetti, the weight of Sam's expectations. I listened, offering no advice, just presence. When he finished, he looked lighter, like he'd shed a layer of armor. To thank me, he started small traditions, chess games where he'd let me win pretending he hadn't, cooking lessons where we'd burn pancakes and laugh. One evening, he taught me to make spaghetti, his hands steady as he stirred the sauce. This was my mom's recipe, he said quietly. Before everything. I tasted it, smiling. It's perfect. He rolled his eyes but grinned. You're too easy to please. School was my proving ground. I joined the debate team alongside drama, sharpening my wit and confidence. Teachers adored me, and my grades soared, earning me a skip to the next grade. Caleb, now in his final year of high school, started asking me to help with his studies. You're smarter than you look, he'd say, smirking as I explained calculus. One night, after a nightmare woke him, he knocked on my door. I let him in, and he sat on my bed, staring at the floor. I keep seeing it, he whispered. That night. I hesitated, then hugged him. You're not them, Caleb. You're you. And you're enough. He stiffened, then relaxed, letting me hold him. You're not like anyone else, he said. You stay. I will. I promised, my voice fierce. Mia's star, meanwhile, dimmed. Her commercial flopped, and her next edition, a TV pilot, went to another girl. Sam's disappointment was palpable. He began critiquing her every move, from her posture to her lack of depth. She pushed harder, enrolling in more classes, but her desperation showed. At a family dinner, she snapped at Sam when he corrected her table manners, earning a cold stare that silenced the room. Caleb leaned over to me, whispering, She's digging her own grave. I nodded, but pity stirred in me. Mia was trapped in her own ambition, blind to the cost. At 13, I landed a supporting role in a major film, Echoes of Tomorrow, a sci-fi drama that promised festival buzz. The set was a dream, professional crews, a visionary director, and a cast that treated me like family. I poured my soul into my character, a girl searching for her lost brother, drawing on my own fractured bond with Mia. Caleb visited often, bringing coffee for the crew and watching me with a pride he didn't voice. One day, as we rehearsed a pivotal scene, I noticed a stranger lingering on set, a journalist I later learned tipped off about my instability. The story was nonsense, claiming I was difficult, prone to tantrums. I recognized Mia's handiwork. She'd done this in our past life, spreading lies to undermine me. But Caleb acted fast, using his family's influence to kill the story before it spread. The journalist vanished, and the director never mentioned it. "Thank you," I told Caleb that night, curled up on the couch. He shrugged. "No one messes with my sister." The film's premiere was a triumph. Critics raved about my heart-wrenching authenticity, and festival invitations poured in. Mia attended, uninvited, her face a mask of forced smiles. Afterward, she cornered me in the lobby. "This should be mine," she hissed. "You stole it. Earn it," I said calmly, echoing my earlier defiance. "You had your chance." She stepped closer, but Caleb appeared, his presence a wall. "Back off, Mia." She glared but retreated, her heels clicking angrily. Caleb took my hand, leading me to the car. "She's done," he said, and I believed him. Back home, he surprised me with a journal, a leather-bound book with my initials. "Write your dreams in it," he said gruffly. "You're gonna need space for them." I hugged him, tears prickling. "You're the best." He snorted but didn't pull away. "Don't get sappy." Mia's next move was desperate. She tried cozying up to my director, offering to assist on set, but Leo saw through her. Her reputation began to fray. Producers whispered about her attitude, her lack of growth. Sam's health declined, and with it, his patience for her antics. At a family meeting, he criticized her openly, calling her unfocused. Mia's face burned, but she said nothing. I, meanwhile, balanced my rising career with school, earning a scholarship to a prestigious arts academy. Caleb drove me to the interview, waiting outside with a book, a rare sight. When I emerged accepted, he grinned. "Knew you'd nail it." By 14, I was a name in the industry. Echoes of Tomorrow won awards at Sundance, and my performance earned me a Teen Choice Award for Breakthrough Actress. The ceremony was a blur of lights and cameras, but Caleb's face in the crowd grounded me. He stood when I won, clapping with a grin that warmed my heart. Afterward, we celebrated at a rooftop restaurant, just the two of us. "You're a big deal now," he teased, sipping soda. "Only because you believed in me," I said, meaning it. He looked away, uncomfortable with sentiment. "Just keep working. Don't let it go to your head." Mia, meanwhile, was fading. Her pilot never got picked up, and her auditions dwindled. Sam's health worsened, confining him to bed, and Mia's role as his granddaughter became a burden. She snapped at assistants, alienated coaches, and lost the charm she'd once wielded. At a family dinner, she tried to regain ground, gushing about a new opportunity, but Sam waved her off. "Focus on discipline, Mia. Talent alone isn't enough." "Untouchable? I'll find a way." I sighed. "Mia, you're fighting a ghost. Let it go." She laughed bitterly. "You don't get it. I'll never let you win." But she was losing. Her latest project, a web series, flopped, critics calling her forgettable. My next film, a historical drama, was already generating Oscar buzz. I trained harder, studying with Elena, balancing school and shoots. Caleb became my rock, attending every premiere, reading scripts with me late at night. One evening, as we watched old movies, he opened up about his own dreams, taking over the Whitman empire, but on his terms. "I want to fix what my parents broke," he said. "Make it something good." "You will," I said, resting my head on his shoulder. "We're a team." He didn't reply, but his arm tightened around me. The night of my third major award, a Golden Globe at 15, echoed the past life that ended in flames. The auditorium was a sea of glamour, but I felt calm, grounded. Caleb sat beside me, now 21, his suit sharp, his presence steady. Mia had wrangled an invitation, arriving in a wheelchair, claiming an accident during a stunt. The story was flimsy, a bid for sympathy, but the industry had moved on. Her name barely registered. As I walked to the stage, accepting my award for the weight of time, I scanned the crowd. Mia sat in the back, her face a mask of fury and defeat. I held the trophy, my voice clear. "This is for my family, especially Caleb, who believed in me when I was just a scared kid." The applause was deafening. Caleb stood, his eyes shining with pride. Mia clapped slowly, her smile forced. At the after-party, she approached, her wheelchair a prop more than a necessity. "Congratulations," she said, her voice tight. "You got what you wanted." "So did you," I replied softly. "You chose your path." Her eyes glistened, but she wheeled away without a word. Later, I learned she'd left the industry, retreating to Sam's villa, caring for him as his health failed. Her dreams of stardom were ashes, her envy a cage she'd built herself. Caleb and I drove home under a starlit sky. "You're safe now," he said, his voice soft but certain. I smiled, leaning back. I know. Revenge wasn't fire or destruction. It was rising above, letting Mia drown in her own choices while I soared. That night, I slept deeply, the weight of my past life lifting. Caleb was my family, my home, and for the first time, I felt free.